Alright, and it's time to finally take a look at the Moros Bodyguard. Now, this thing is, the good old space potato, although I do like the way the Hubris and the Moros Bodyguard look. They do have a very nice hull design. I'm not gonna lie, I do like how the space potato looks. It looks much better than the Moros, at least. In any case, all jokes aside. Let's take a look at the basic info. Now, the roll bonus pretty much the same as the roll bonus on the previous 3 bodyguards. Now, I suspect that the Moros bodyguard will have the highest DPS. After all, it is using railguns and blasters, and they have the overall highest, one of the highest DPS counts in the game. You get some damage, you get activation time, armor repair speed, armor capacitor, need reduction, which is nice, snap-newsed railgun damage. So this ship is kind of meant to be used with the snap-newsed railguns. And I assume also meant to be used with the high-angle weapons. Now the Moros is a armor tank, obviously an armor tank, and I believe you can do a passive tank in certain occasions, but if you have bonuses for active tanking, I would say stick with active tanking. That's just my philosophy at the end of the day. I just follow the skill description of the ship, and that's how I usually build it. But there are occasions when you can do something different in fleets, and in some occasions, depending on the implant and stuff, you can do something pretty funny with the shield on some armor tank ships. But this is the current build that I have, some snap-newsed railguns. They're good against capital versus capital, but on the bodyguards I actually start to prefer to use the high-angle weapons. After all, because of the close-in weapon, I got the feeling that they are meant to be anti-tackle, anti-subcapital Dreadnought ships, so in order to maximize that function of the ships, I just go and slap the high-angle weapon system variants on the bodyguards, and so far that's been working really well. The build philosophy on the Moros here is very similar to the Revelation, although I have a bunch of webs on this thing because blasters have good tracking, and if you web something down quite nicely, you can even hit the smaller target with the capital weapon. But the same good old resistance build, maximizing resistance and repair, and obviously the rigs. Now with the Moros, you can do a build that will focus primarily on repair, and you might want to change the rigs a little bit if you like, of course. This is something that I picked up with the Revelation, and if something is working and if it's not broken, then you don't have to fix it. But at the same time, you are free to slap any type of tanky build that you like. Battery build, resistance build, passive tank build, anything that you personally like or need that should suit the ship well, then you can go and use it just fine. So, as for the implants, you have thermal circulation if you want tank. The best implant in the game, if you ask me, for utility is the thermal circulation implant because of that 3 armor resistance, and it can function as a DPS implant if you use the active mode of the thermal circulation. You do also have the high power coil implant that I believe most players will use. If they aim for DPS, they will probably go and use the high power coil. I personally like to use the thermal circulation because my ships usually are tanky ships. My capitals have mostly and will mostly stay tanky ships, primarily armor, so in my case the thermal circulation implant is just much more suiting and benefiting to my ships. It's an implant that you can fit on any armor tank ship. It doesn't really need to be a blaster ship only. The passive is literally for every ship in the game. That's why I'm saying that it's pretty much the best implant in the game, because it is multi-purpose and it can be slapped on pretty much anything. So let's take a look at the resistance profile of the ship, and let's take a look at the overall stats. Now the Revelation will probably have more raw resistance. The Moros follows the philosophy of having more repair and speed, although they're capital ships, so speed doesn't really matter much in capitals. You will be stationary regardless of what propulsion module you have in siege mode. But let's take a look at the tank. 11.7 million hit points, 88 to 93% resistance. Not too bad, I would say. 3.23 seconds is the activation time, so pretty fast repairs and some pretty beefy resistances. Could be higher, obviously, depending on what build you have. It can be higher, it can be lower, depends on the build at the end of the day, depends on the modules. I use C-types. In general, I use C-types on most of the ships and in most of the tests here. As I mentioned before, the stats that you see here are what you can expect as a entry point, the base stats, basically entry point in their performance, without any other core and stuff like that. And some decent value with the damage control activated as well. Now you can use the Energizer damage control for more passive or for more active use. You can use the classic damage control. You cannot fit both though. Imagine if you could fit both, that would be pretty funny. But unfortunately you can't, for balancing reasons, of course. And as I mentioned before, you can focus on a battery build, you can focus on a repair build. The classic active tank with a bunch of batteries will work. The build with multiple repairers will also work, depending on what ship you want, depending on your old Moros build. There's just so many different builds that we can do. I could show like 1,000 different builds, but we would be here for the next like 20 hours, and I think 20 hours would be a little bit too much just to show different builds. So I'm here to inspire and give ideas. At the end of the day, I wish I could cover all of the builds. I mean, there's just thousands and thousands of builds, but that's a bit impossible. So I just try to cover the ones that I personally like, that I personally used or use, and builds that just prove themselves to work over the years. With the battery builds, you kind of focus on endurance, although the reason why I don't use the capacitor battery build is because of super capitals, hot drops. If you are obviously not part of a huge group like me, then having a battery build is kind of not a good option, because no matter how much endurance you have on your ship, if you get jumped by 30 ships, those batteries will not save you. Raw resistances will save though, and that proved to be the case time and time again in my personal experience. In my experience, resistances always saved my ship. Every time
request accepted.
I had my ship with a properly built tank that ended up surviving and living. Every time. There's no fail. Every brick tank ship that I have lived. And when I say brick tank, I mean something like the Revelation, the Hyperion bomber, something that has a insane amount of tank and repair. Both of those ships have been jumped, and both of them are still alive and well. And they will be alive and well, especially the Hyperion bomber. The Hyperion bomber is just broken. It's like a miniature version of a Dreadnought. I love that ship. But in any case, let's go and do the build that I personally don't like that much, and that will be the DPS build, the glass build, the PvE build that most players would call it. Now with the blasters, easily able to just slap triple burst aerators. It is, if you have the maxed out skills, this is what it's recommended, because it just scales nicely with the damage mods. And I learned that from my friend. We did a lot of tests, and this ended up being the most optimal build. It gives the most DPS. It pushes a little bit more DPS than the collision, but you can also use the collision if you like. I mean, again, 1,000 different builds, 1,000 different options. I'm here to show some of them that I personally use on a lot of other of my ships that are built in the game. And well, obviously it will be 3 or 4 magnetic field stabilizers. 5 is overkill, 4 is like the sweet spot, the highest sweet spot, or the upper end, because 5 and more will just give a huge diminishing return, and the boost that you get is minimal. It does give a boost, but it will also give a lot of drawback, because, you know, if you use multiple modules, then their total effect kind of is reduced. It has diminishing returns. And well, it would look something like this, I guess. At the end of the day, you have again 1,000 other options, and you might wonder why is the the module list blacked out. There are some modules that are not in the game, and I just want to avoid confusion. So the module list will be kind of hidden, because there are some modules that are not in the game. I don't know how they ended up in my hangar here, but to avoid confusion, that's the reason. Because some might be wondering, well, what's that module there? Ignore that. You just ignore that for now. I made a mistake. I forgot to delete them. I don't know how they ended up there. In any case, I pretty much used the same green modules that I used so far, and well, this is how this ship would potentially look like with a more of a glass PvE build. But again, I am not a fan of this build personally. Not because it's bad, it's just because it's so unsafe to fly. Like, if it gets jumped, there's just nothing you can do. If Black Ops ships drop on this ship right now, if it's in low sec or null sec, or doing a mission and a signal lights up next to you, if 30 Black Ops crawl out, you are pretty much in trouble. And that's why I love a tank built on these ships, because a tanky, properly built tanky Dreadnought is going to laugh at a Black Ops fleet, because you can tank those things with ease with a properly built ship, with a properly tanked ship. In any case, let's take the Space Potato for a little ride, and let's see how it will work. Now, so far I said that the Phoenix had the best performance, because missiles can't miss. Missiles always hit the target. The blasters know to miss if you don't web on time. That's one thing to consider. And does that make blasters bad? No, it just means that you have to play a bit more actively. You have to be a bit more careful with the primary target. But at the end of the day, the PvE performance of all of these ships is very good. I kind of feel when I first saw the close-in weapon, I didn't really know what to think about them. I didn't really know what to think about them. Didn't really know how much would they be effective, right? There were just a lot of uncertainties. But now, after using them myself, after seeing how they work myself, they are good. They're definitely good.
We're under attack.
And is it going to help? Yes, obviously it does help.
Attack.
It's undeniable that it does help. And I'm definitely kind of looking forward to see if something like this finds its way into battleships. Now, in one of the last videos, I talked about the close-in weapons potentially being able to save your ship from bad internet. Now, this is what I was talking about, basically. This is where I realized, oh, wait a second, I'm doing no damage, and look at that beautiful rate of fire. That's a nasty rate of fire for sure. In a situation like this, where the server is unstable, or the internet is unstable, the close-in weapon will still destroy ships. Even though it's not showing, it will, as you can see, it is still destroying them. even if the ship is offline, it will still destroy. It will still hit and destroy ships in the vicinity. This can actually save your ship. If you lose internet for a long period of time or something happens, and if the ship is just standing there, the closing weapon will eliminate every ship close to you, and if you're tackled, once tackle is destroyed, the ship will warp off. Even if it's in siege mode, the siege mode will automatically shut itself off, or what I have seen, the ship will warp through the siege mode. Even though if it's in the siege mode, it will still warp off. So that's something I expected to be a thing, but here we are. It's you know, it's funny, but that's how it is. The siege mode is not the siege mode, my apologies. If you're wondering, this is my third or fourth video today. I'm a little bit sleepy. And a little bit tired, because let me tell you, the recording can take a hit on at least on my state of being aware. I don't even know how to speak at the moment, so yeah. But after a bunch of videos, usually my voice gives out after one or two videos, because my vocal cords are a bit damaged, and it's just a matter of time until my voice just goes full mute. But I think I've been doing pretty well so far. I've managed to punch through 3 or 4 videos, to voice 3 or 4 videos. That's I guess that's improvement. Maybe not. Maybe I'll regret it later on. Oh boy. I'll find out very soon. In any case, the internet is still messed up, and even if the target is not locked, that's also a very good thing. That saved the ship, I guess. Even if the target is not locked, the ship will still do damage on it, you know. So the closing weapon will do damage on it. So there we go, and there is a little. Okay, hopefully this will fix the internet now, or the connection, or whatever the problem was. I mean, this is the test server, so anything can go wrong. If this ship does blow up, I'll just laugh. And this is one of the rare occasions where if something happens right with the server, you know, and if my ship is stuck there, and if it gets yeeted, I just laugh, because, you know, I can just spawn 50,000 more, so it's not a big deal. If it were the live server though, I would be mad. That's the big difference here. I can eat ships all day long here, and I can just laugh at it. On the live server, not the case. Not the case, that's for sure. And this is why I actually like to test things out here, because I actually am able to do some funny things here, and this is how I developed all of my builds. Sometimes I go and make a tanky ship, I eat it at gate guns, and then I decide how long it can live, and based on that I decide whether I will use the build or not, because if a ship I built is able to tank a gate gun for 30 seconds, and the other build that I make for the same ship and that tanks a minute, yeah, I'll take the build that tanked the gate guns for a minute. That's how sometimes I actually do things, and some of these builds I actually pulled off on the Revelation. I think I did have one of those builds that was able to tank gate guns for a while. I think I did it on that ship, I forgot, but I did some pretty funny things like that. Off camera, of course, because off and on camera, depending on the situation. I made a lot of videos, so I don't know if I think I did make a video on that a long time ago, but I could be wrong. Again, it's been quite a while.
Under attack.
Well, I think it's back to normal now. Yeah, it seems to be back to normal. So, I would say the Moros might be the second fastest in clear time from my personal experience here. The Revelation and Nagafar would be 3 and 4. The Phoenix first and the Moros second. I think the reason why Moros is so good at this is because it has like 40,000 DPS, 40.9 I believe, DPS with the current setup, which is not a small number. It's pretty decent actually. I also love the fact that it has more DPS, but it's still second place. That's because of the alpha damage and the fact that the turrets can miss the target. Missiles will hit regardless of you know, of how close the target is. With the blasters and with the other turret systems, they can miss, and the miss can definitely mess up the clear time a little bit. So that's one thing to keep in mind. But in any case, it's doing a good job actually. It's doing a very good job. I'm not complaining at all. It's doing a good job. Definitely doing a good job. So I'm personally happy with the performance of the ship. Okay, so we're slowly closing into the end of this video. That was some fun little testing, that's for sure, and I enjoyed it personally. I do plan to test them out again, super capitals next. I'm very curious to see how they handle super capitals compared to the other previous Dreadnoughts we had. To the Lancers. The Lancers were tanky, very tanky. I'm very curious to see how the Bodyguards will handle super capitals. The super capitals are kind of my DPS benchmark for capital ships in general, and in the future with Titans, I think Titans will become benchmark as well. Depending on how they pull them off. They will become a benchmark. Maybe not. But I think Bombard Implant is so broken that even the Titans will blush in comparison to their DPS. But we will see how that will end up. It would be funny if they give fighters to Titans. I'd be mad. Let me tell you one thing. Imagine Titans getting like 8 high slots and like 5 fighter tubes. Yo, that would be. Maybe I should just shut up and not give them ideas, because I know the developers do watch, and sometimes, you know, when they watch, you know, they implement something I say, so I better shut up and not talk about something as funny as Titans using Bombard Implant with fighters, because that would be pretty funny. In any case, that would be it for the Moros Bodyguard. A fantastic ship, and if you do like the ship, then you can get one if you like, of course. I mean, optional, only if you like the ship, only if you need the ship. That's how I usually handle things. But with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed. If you would like to support me, feel free to like and subscribe. And with that being said, stay safe, fly safe. As always, I'll see you next time.